Neil Sinclair, Commando Dad, episode 2. We were just having a laugh off air about how I'm just super grateful for you taking a punt on this kid who was just curious enough to, I'm grateful that you joined 3 years ago, but I'm super excited to have you back today, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing very well, mate. I'm doing very well. I'm coping as much as anybody
Yeah.
can in the craziness. I'm navigating the craziness and just keeping a positive attitude. That's what
Love
I'm
it.
doing. I think that's really important. And podcasts like yours is kind of like it's the food that you need to keep you nourished, mate. You know what I mean? And keep your eye on that. Tomorrow will be better. You know?
Yeah, thanks,
Yeah.
man. It's so good to have you back. I know that you've put out a number of good things out into the world since we last spoken as well. But maybe for those
Yeah.
of our listeners that are new to the community, we've obviously grown a little bit over the last couple of years, and maybe they've
A
not
little
gone back
bit. A
a
little bit.
little
Come
bit.
on.
It's the prize of stubbornly showing up, I think. But you came on at a time when it was initially a Facebook Live series, and maybe people, didn't meet us at the podcast at that point. It wasn't really a slick
Yeah.
podcast, shall we say. So I'd love to allow them to meet you and understand a little bit about who you are. Why do they even call you Commando Dad? Tell us a little bit about your backstory.
So my backstory was I'm an ex-commando. I served with the Royal Engineers for 6 years. Had an amazing time with the best force in the world. I think I may be a little bit biased, but it's still true. And I became a stay-at-home dad to over a period of time. Stay-at-home dad to 3 children, and it was the most challenging thing that I think I'd ever taken on. And it was the first time that I found that I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
I didn't have a plan, and no one had given me a manual. Now, when you join the army, you get a thing called basic battle skills,
Yeah.
and I was looking for a basic battle skills book to be able to refer to as a new parent, as a new dad, and there wasn't one. So I kept complaining to my wife Tara, and I said I can't find this book. And she was like, well, you know what you're going to have to do? You were a commando. You're now a stay-at-home dad. Let's smash the two together and create it ourselves. And that's what we did. So over the period of years, we condensed all the information down that I didn't have a clue to do, and we put it in a book called Commando Dad Basic Training. And we have the illustrious members of the Commando Dad fraternity. Prince William and Prince Harry, and Benedict Cumberbatch and Andy Murray, to name but a few. So
Royal
that's
seal
where
of approval.
that's where the idea of Commando Dad came from, and it's been massively well received. We've now got 20 international books, 20 versions. It's been translated into 20 different languages. So it's clearly hit a chord with new dads, but also it's a book for moms as well. I think I get quite a lot of dads saying, can you do you mind getting in touch with we call them the commanding officer in Commando Dad speak. Would you mind getting in touch with the commanding officer and say, this is Commando Dad, and it's a book for dads? And I've got to go back and say, A, I'm not going to get in the ring with your commanding officer. I'm not that brave. And B, it's information that is for all parents. So, allow them to have a little look. You know what I mean? You've got to be a little bit that. But that's the backstory of Commando Dad and how I became Commando Dad.
I love that. And, obviously that was the main reason I reached out to you. I was part of that fraternity.
Yeah, that's right.
It was the one book that I read as a new parent. Again, like, didn't really have a male role model in my life growing up. So I was coming at this completely blind, and always been passionate about being the best dad I could be. But again, you have this little thing and you think, what do I do? What do I do? What kit do I need? Like,
I know.
yeah, just the book that you pulled together. And what I really loved about it as well is that you just had just great language. It was just, you talk about your base camp, you talk about your kit, and everything just had such a great feel to it. It was a really, great resource to have as a new dad.
And the great thing is as well, Ryan, is I'm I love Instagram. I think it's such a great way of interacting very personally with expectant dads and new dads. And when I say to them, I it never ever gets old. I sometimes there's a hashtag Commando Dad, and when that hashtag comes up on Instagram, and I get a picture of a dad sitting reading a book, sitting Commando Dad, or baby in one hand and Commando Dad in the other, it just gives me goosebumps. I'm thinking about it now, and I've got them,
Yeah.
and it never ever goes away, and I don't think it ever will. And I always say to them, you know what? Thank you so much for the positive words about the book. It was the book that I wish I'd been issued when I was the first time dad. And but I also say, please, if you need any backup support, I'm there. You DM me. It doesn't matter what time of the day or night. There's no such thing as a silly question. And it's like, because it can be overwhelming. And believe me, no one out there, if you ask a question, is going to judge you. They're going to be going, mate, we've all been through that, and this is the way that I got through it. And you know, the great thing is about the community, the Commando Dad community, is there's never one answer to a problem or a challenge. There are a million different ways of dealing with the same thing. You might do something and it works on one day. You might try the same thing the following day and it doesn't work. And you need to improvise, adapt, and overcome. And sometimes you just need to vent, because it's challenging being a parent, especially for a newborn baby. And those first few years is really, really challenging. And having people to talk to, like-minded people to talk to, who you know aren't going to judge you and are just going to support you, is so important. And I think that's one of the things that you do as well, is just that you interact with the people who enjoy your show so much. And I think that's fantastic. So thank you for that, Ryan.
Yeah, no, it's. I think those words, improvise, adapt, and overcome, I think they're such powerful words, because there's freedom. And I think one of the things that my wife felt burdened of when we become a parent is there's so much pressure and expectation to look the part, to know what you're doing, to have the stuff, to have the kid dressed up, and in that I don't want to generalize too much, but in the parenting support world that she consumed, it built up pressure and expectation.
Oh, absolutely.
And what you just said
without a
here
shadow of a doubt.
is the opposite, is actually just improvise, adapt. It's
And
never
that's
going
what it
to be
is.
perfect.
No, it's never. And you know what? And I think if you go into parenting striving for perfection, you're setting yourself up for a lot of stress, a lot of pressure, and that's the wrong thing to do, because it takes the energy away from what you need to do. That energy needs to be fed into your child. And the thing is, as well, for me, children they pick up the most minute nuances in your voice, in your, that energy you give off, that some people call it an aura. If yours is depressed, they pick it up. And if they're a baby, they're going to cry, because they're not going to be very happy about that. And that's going to step up your, do you know what I mean? And it's just going to go
anxiety
up
loops
and up and up. That anxiety loop, absolutely, yeah. And you need to break that chain. You need to break that link with those things. And I think the way to do that is to just, I always use this line: try and be independent of the good opinion of other people. So if you're in a supermarket and you've got the eye rollers and the tutters, you know what? Independent of the good opinion of them, they don't matter. They don't matter. In the grand scheme of things, they're going to go home and they're going to tell a story. You should have seen this woman today. It's like, and how does that affect you? Not in the slightest. As long as you keep that in mind. And it's not an easy thing to do, especially when you're a new parent. But it's something, if you go, you know what, their opinion of me doesn't matter. I know I'm doing my best for my child right now. And if they don't agree with that, that's okay. That's not a problem. I know what I'm doing now is the best that I can do. And in hindsight, it might be the wrong thing to do, but you learn from that. You make mistakes and then you grow from them. And that's the important thing about the trying to break that link between those things,
I won't ever profess to be, here to help and guide and be an expert for parents. Far from it. But one thing I like about what you said is about disconnecting and creating that energy to go back. I think that's self leadership, and I think for many men and women that are listening to this that have businesses that they run or
Mm,
they have busy day jobs. Um, Life is a constant depletion of energy,
absolutely.
and I think there's such a need for our listeners to look after themselves, because when we do that, we become more able to do the types of things that you're suggesting. So this great book that I have here and a number of the other ones, that they're great activities to do with children. But what is the common barrier? I'm too busy. I'm too tired.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, it is, and I think and I think that is a challenge. That is a challenge. But it's like, I think the key thing that you said there was making time for yourself and
Mm,
making time for your family, and and people, it's getting that discipline of, what, schedule it into your day.
mm, mm,
Don't just go, right, okay, when I get back I'm going to do this. No, if you don't, if you've got, if you can, we've all got Google Calendar. I mean,
mm.
your fantastic system was popping me and pinging me, going, don't forget your don't forget your you've got your meeting Ryan at 11.
Yeah.
So, you know you're right, it's important. Family time and time with your loved ones and your unit, as we call it, it really, really is important. It keeps you all connected, and it gives you a reason to do what you're doing. What's the reason? What's more important than
Mm,
that connection with your family? Because you go out to work, you work hard, you invest time and effort into what you want to do to bring that money in to be able to provide.
mm.
But provide for what?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Are you going to come home and be absolutely on your chin strap and go, you know what? Your kid's done something. They've done a macaroni drawing, and you're on your chin strap and waiting, oh, can I see it tomorrow?
Yeah.
Wow, missed opportunity. One day, it's like, I read a really, really good book once called the Hour Father book or something. And it
Mm,
said, doors are open when you're a parent, doors are open for a very, very short period of time. And when they shut, they never reopen. So that opportunity, one day that kid's not going to say to you, "Do you want to see my macaroni drawing?" And they're gonna have moved on. And you go, "Did you do anything at school today?" "Yeah, no." "Oh, okay." And you've missed that
yeah.
opportunity. So I think, so for me,
That's powerful.
schedule in the time that you want to do. So it's like, right, okay, what should we do today? I mean, have a look at my book and see there's some, the activities that you can do in the garden,
Mm,
or you know what I mean, or just draw a, draw a picture, or do like a little mini bug hunt in the garden or
mm,
whatever,
mm.
and but schedule it in. So when you get back, you say, right, okay, I'm gonna have about 15 minutes just to have a quick drink, have something to eat, get, replenish my energy because it's been depleted throughout the day. But
Mhm.
then we're gonna have this time together,
Yeah.
and we're gonna make this count. And it doesn't have to be an hour. You know what I mean? If you've got an hour and you can go for a walk, fantastic, absolutely amazing. You
Mm,
know, but if during the week, if you've only got a certain amount of time before they go to bed, for instance, make it count, but schedule it in. It's like
mm,
that. Preparation and planning.
mm.
Preparation and planning prevents poor performance. So and
Yeah.
that's really important to me. And I think, and that gives you a structure, and it
Mm,
gives you as a dad something to look forward to when you get home. You know what I mean? You might have had a rubbish day. When you come home, you see that toddler come up to you, and you go, you know what? Rubbish day melts away.
mm.
I've got my little. Dad's like, are you excited about what we're going to do? He's like, oh, Dad, I can't wait. And I think that's really important. And I think that's
Yeah.
something that, it's not the easiest thing to do,
Mm.
but it is something that really important. Scheduling that time in,
Yeah.
because it's precious time that
Yeah,
you really
agree.
need to grab hold of, and
Yeah.
try and wring out as much as you can. Make the memories.
I love that. Your three now are young adults, and you've been able to keep your great hair. I'm sure there were times when they were younger, there were times when you wanted to pull that out. Like,
Uh,
what were some of the things you had to, being a stay-at-home dad, I'm sure you've got a greater level of empathy for maybe the stay-at-home mums, or even the
oh,
stay-at-home dads that may be listening. What are some of the things that you had to do for your own sanity?
I think that the key thing is for me, get out of your four walls.
Mm.
Get out of your four walls is so important,
Mm.
um, because it can become, it might sound extreme, but your home can become your prison if
Yeah.
you're not careful.
Mm.
And it takes quite a level of, we were talking about that judgment, that judgy side of things. I've always aspired to be that independent of the good opinion of other people. So I really, I was quite fortunate that I was able to get my two children eventually. Well, it was when I lived in London. It was just the two kids, so I had a double pushchair, and I got out. Even if I just went for a walk.
Mm.
Um, and it didn't matter what the weather was like. They created rain covers for a reason, and skins. You're like, skin's waterproof. It's fine. Get out and get into trees, get into nature, get into a
Mm.
park, get into something. And then once that's initially what I did. And then I started to look into groups. I looked for play groups, and I think that's quite a that's quite a that's quite an arduous mission. When you do that initially, it can be very, very kind of overwhelming, because
Mm.
you're in there in this space and you've got childminders and you've got people with a million years worth of experience, and you all think they're definitely judging me. They're definitely looking at me. Who's this new kid on the block? And he's a man. What's he going
Mm.
to do? Is he
Mm.
going to be any good?
He's like a
And I
commando.
think for me, yeah, they didn't know it at the time though.
Yeah.
But the thing is for me, what I did was I went in there and I was very, very honest and said, I have not got a clue what I'm doing. I've got a 1 year old and a 6 week old, and your advice would be, if you can give me any advice, that would be amazing. And I think that was quite disarming for them, because they were like, oh,
Yeah.
actually,
Yeah.
this guy's admitting that he really hasn't got a clue,
Yeah.
and he's asking us what we can do to support him. So
Mm.
I actually reached out to them and said, whatever support you can give me is going to be it's going to be critical for the survival of these
Mm.
children. Believe me. And I think that really disarmed them, and they
Yeah.
became such good friends. And I think sometimes it depends on your personality. I'm quite personal, like I like talking to people, and some
Mhm.
people are a little bit more reserved, a little bit more, a little bit more concerned about what
Mhm.
people are saying. And maybe you won't. I mean, I was straight in there, and maybe sometimes it takes being a bit brave to go back 2, 3, 4 times. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? You might come away feeling intimidated. The worst thing
Yeah.
you could do is not go back.
Yeah.
It's like, feel the fear and go back and do it anyway.
Mm.
And the
Mm.
more comfortable you get, the more people will see you and go, oh hi, yeah, do you want a cup of tea, or do you
Mhm.
want a biscuit?
Mhm.
And then they'll start. You'll start having a community around you, um, big or small, whether it be family or whether it just be like-minded people with children similar age.
Mm.
It's amazing. I mean, I ended up being in there used to be a 1 o'clock club, Sure Start. They used to have a Sure Start in Kennington, and I became the head of the parents committee when I was there, because I was there for about 2 or 3 years. So going from I haven't got a clue to being the head of the parents committee was just such a great journey, and what a wonderful
Mm.
experience that was. But it's about, you need backup support. You
Yeah.
really, really do need backup support.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say. I would say, get out the four walls, be brave, and
Mm.
find like-minded people who
Mm.
you can really connect with. It's about that
Mm.
connection, isn't it?
It's such ironic advice, having just gone through 2020, where we've been put back
Right.
into those four
Yes.
walls.
Yeah.
How have I know that you're a man of service and that you a sense of duty. Like, how have you try to help and serve your community when we are back in those four walls?
Well, I've been quite fortunate, really, because I did obviously I was in lockdown, but I now work in a school, Allsworth Community College, and I'm actually an internal exclusion unit manager. So the kids who are being slightly challenging in lessons, I take them to my unit, and I work with them. And during lockdown, I was actually I was in the, they called it the hub, with the children who can't access. So I had the opportunity to go and interact with children who find it challenging at at home, and a lot of I think I really empathized a lot with parents, because I was hearing a lot of stories. I was in charge. I was looking after 15. I was the mentor to 15 children throughout the lockdowns, and connecting with them. I'd speak to the parents, and then I'd speak to the child, and I think that was a really it made me feel good that I was able to help. I can't help everybody. I wasn't able. I haven't physically got time to look after the 1,481 pupils we have in the school. But my 15, I helped my 15, and I supported them, and I supported as much as I possibly could. I supported the families as well with advice about. I mean, some of the people I was talking to, they were having to make choices of whether to put the heating on or whether to pay for the internet.
Yeah.
Now that's not a choice that people should make. And fortunately, because of the school that I work at, they're amazing at Allswater. There's a thing where if you asked us, we could apply for your provider, your mobile phone provider, would gift you data. They would give you data, so you didn't have to make that choice, and your child could still log on. And that was something. So in small ways, I think I helped with people who were in those four walls, and I think people just knowing. I said to them, I went, if you ever need me, you just email me, and I'll give you a ring, and I'll. It's about trying to keep that connection. I think connections have been phenomenally important during these lockdowns, and I think it's made me realize how many people are disconnected, and how we need to really focus on reconnecting with those people who don't have anyone. And it's not right. It's not right that someone is sitting at home and they can't go out, and they've got no one to communicate with. And like I say, Ryan, I can't communicate with everyone, but I can try to communicate with the people that I can. And that's what I'm going to continue to do.
I love the book by Johann Hari, Lost Connections, where he talks about the 8 disconnections that we have that cause depression and anxiety. And one of those disconnections, other than from good people and community, is a disconnection from nature. And obviously you said get outside. And the latest book that I have here is Commando Dad, Forest School Adventures. Get outdoors with your kids, available now. This is going out at the start of the summer holidays. So the reason I wanted to get you on now coincides with the release of this new book. And let's use this next conversation to encourage people to reconnect with their kids and with nature. Johann Hari says that that's a cure for depression and anxiety, but it's more than that. Tell us about some of the great things that we can expect within this Forest School Adventures book.
So I think the key thing is about the book I created. It's not I'm a novice in the forest school world. I mean, I don't know what you were like, Ryan, but my happy place when I was a kid with my brothers in the woods, making bows and arrows, making catapults, putting swings up, and all that kind of amazing stuff. Now, for me, it's in my DNA that was a happy place for me. Now, I think the forest school ethos has been around for quite a number of years. I think it started over in Norway or Sweden or somewhere like that, and they seem to have been they never lost that. It's like, yes, our connection with nature is so important, and I think it kind of runs through a lot of the way their cultures are, not and not some country, unfortunately. But I think the forest school world in the UK is, like whenever, it started coming online a few years ago, has picked up on this. This is important stuff. I mean, and I think for me, so this is an activity book. I had one before, Mission Adventure, but that was all sorts of different activities. This is about, so if, for instance, if you look at one of the missions, it has there the skills that you can actually teach your children and they can learn. So it's about connecting with nature. It's about connecting with trees. It's about like foraging safely. It's about climbing trees. It's about the expectation of like communicating with each other on a lot of different levels, whether it be like through hand gestures or like putting like symbols on the floor and all of these things. And I think for me, other than it just being an activity book, it's also really, really pushing for the connection and the skills that the children can learn when they're in the woods, and B, also as it's about at the end of each mission, there's a mission complete, and it says I completed making a bow and arrow with my Commando Dad on this day. So, and that aspect is really important to me because that means you were there when that happened. And I think the thing that, like I look back now as as I've got a 19-year-old, an 18-year-old and a 14-year-old. And I look back and those times when we made a memory, we made a little, we made that synaptic connection. And it went into my memory. And you know what? The power of making that memory, it never diminishes. You'll have them, Ryan. You'll have them when you think, when you think of something, you go, and you're right back there. The energy and the power of that is just, you could be having the crappiest day. And then all of a sudden, it just lifts and elevates the way you feel. And that's powerful.
I really want to hammer this home. There are people listening right now that maybe struggle to connect with their little trooper. And either they're too busy, maybe they don't understand, maybe they didn't have a father role model themselves, so they don't know how to role model it. This book, and especially this mission accomplished, I verify that on this date, sign it. I used my senses to identify a tree with my Commando Dad, and you sign it. And I think that is just, look, you ain't got to come at this being the best dad in the world. You've just simply got to try. Give it a go.
Absolutely.
Do it together.
Without a shadow of a doubt. And it's about, and that's the thing, it's like, it's that the connection that you have, the time that one of the things I say as well, when you go on your little missions, your little mini missions, it's the one thing that I would say, if I was going to be asked, if you were going to give a dad or like a mom or a dad, a parent, but specifically a dad in this case, obviously because of Commando Dad, one piece of advice, when you're going on these missions, what would it be? My piece of advice is make sure you give your trooper your undivided attention. You look at them, you listen to them, and because they'll know that you are that connection between the two of you is so powerful, and it's a tricky thing to do because we are so bombarded with so many different things. You know what I mean? We've all got a to-do list that never ever gets any smaller. But when you go on your mission, I think one of the key things I would say is, right, top of your list for this period of time, my trooper has my undivided attention. I'm not going to check my text messages. I'm not going to do anything other than spend quality time. And it's about quality, not quantity. Some people haven't got a lot of time. I understand that, and it's not about always going on massive missions. If you can do that, oh,
Yeah.
you're very, very lucky. But a
You
lot of
know,
people can't do that,
and
and I think, yeah,
sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you. And I think
it's okay, no worries, buddy.
personal accountability to myself. Like I can't sit here and have this interview and say I get this right. I absolutely try to be available for my kid as best as possible. But do I take out, get into the woods, go into nature? It would be disingenuous of me to say that's me. That's the type I dad. But this helps me aspire to do more of that. This is a resource that goes, hey, they ain't going to be young for long.
No.
So I'm going to try and take every Friday off work, this summer. And I'm going to go downstairs in a minute to the kids and I'm going to hand them this book and I'm going to say, right, every Friday we can do something from this book. And I'll make a
Oh,
commitment to
wow.
them and I'll say,
Fantastic.
and I'll tell you why I don't do this stuff naturally, because I'm rubbish at it. Like you said about how did I spend my childhood? It was on bikes, it was building ramps, it was doing football things. But my mum will tell you, and my brothers and sisters will laugh at, because I used to go out clean, come home clean.
Oh, yeah.
I was the clean kid. I wasn't
Yeah.
doing all that stuff.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
So it's difficult, and I have to put my own kind of difficulties to one side and just do that for them.
Yeah.
I have to put them first. And for people hearing me say that, they think, well, don't you do that all the time? Yes, but I can get busy. I can get
Yep.
swept up. I can get busy.
Yep.
Full transparency, and this inspires me to just put it down. The thing I do find myself more available to my kids is that Corey's my son. He's getting to an age now where he's able to play PlayStation,
Mm.
and my availability to him seems to be more if he's like, Dad, do you want to play the PlayStation? It's easier. I ain't got to go outside. I ain't going to get any kit on. And I guess a number of people will be listening to this and they'll relate that their kids are spending a lot of time on computer systems, whether it be tech, iPads, whether it be on PlayStations, Xboxes. How do we, as parents, get our little troopers outdoors?
So I think for me, I think it's a challenging one, and especially because obviously for me it's been very natural,
Yeah,
going outside, and for you it's not so natural.
mm-hmm.
Your predisposition is if your child says, "Fancy going on the Xbox," you're going to go, "Yay!"
Yeah.
But I think so. I think for me, my parenting style is by leading by example.
Yeah.
So I think,
Yep.
and that's again, it's not about perfection.
Yep.
It's about making mistakes and apologizing.
Yep.
It's about putting yourself outside your comfort zone and then showing your children. That's what you do. When you go outside on a Friday, you're going to get dirty, mate. That's not going to make you feel great. But you know what? Your kids probably know that you don't like doing that.
Yep.
And you're going to say, and they're going to see you and go, "Dad's putting himself out here. That's really impressive." That's a life lesson right there.
Yep.
That's just you just purely by stepping outside of your comfort zone. You're showing them that it's okay to step out your comfort zone. But I think again, it's leading by example, and then you can say to them, "It's like, you know what? I love spending time on the Xbox with you. It is absolutely fantastic. But you know what? It's not the only thing we can do together. There are other things we can do. We can go and explore. You know what I mean? And it's like next time we are on the Xbox, we can talk about, wasn't it great putting that rope swing up? Or wasn't it great when we made a little raft and we sailed them down and you won? That was amazing. So I think I think for me, again, what in parenting is easy? Nothing. It's not. It's about challenging yourself.
Yep.
And it's about every day challenging yourself. It's like you say, we're trying to be better every single day.
Yeah.
And it's about that consistency, but it's also about not aiming for perfection. It's about making mistakes over and over again and leading by example. I think for me, that's really, really important. And I think one thing that we've learned is that people have had more time. We got our hour of, like government sanctioned exercise. People got outside. People reconnected with parks and green spaces. And I think when people started to reconnect, they felt better. like, I mean, not it's like maybe they weren't, like kicking their own height, but they felt incrementally better. They felt slightly better than they did at the start of the walk. And I think it's like you were saying about your the gentleman who wrote that book about the disconnection. I mean, I think it's in Japan. Instead of being, like if you've been diagnosed with depression, rather than giving you a prescription for medication, they've given you a prescription to go and walk in the woods a couple of times a week for 12 weeks, something like that. And you connect with nature, and the success rate of people feeling better after that period of time is phenomenal. Why? Because they're reconnecting with nature. There's something, I'm sure I've read somewhere that, when like trees have like, they're not, like they kind of know we're there. There's a network of like, there's a network
energy
underneath. I don't know if you've ever seen it underneath. It's very, very, it's pretty freaky, actually. It's like the matrix underneath of wood. And the plants communicate with each other. And when there's something in it, so if there's a particular species of, animal that is going to just, is going to damage a tree, they communicate with each other and say, right, okay, there's something that's not good here. Release this thing because it doesn't like it, and it will sod off. And then I think for us, I think they know that when we're there, I just feel better. I feel calmer. I feel happier. And I've got to say, I'm sure that the trees are doing something. They're releasing something to make me feel good. And when that sun comes through the light and you get that dappled effect on your eyes, and that makes you feel good. And you know what I mean? And it's and I think for me, this book is really important about getting people out into nature spaces. You might not be near a wood, but it's if you can just go online and say, where's my nearest nature space, or something like, somewhere I can go to where I can just be in a nature space just for a little while with my troopers, and we can do something small, like just go on a bug hunt, that type of thing. It's nourishing. And I think that's the key thing. It's nourishing, and it's that making those memories that are going to stay with you for the rest of your life.
Powerful, my friend. So for those listening, Commando Dad, Forest School Adventures, get outdoors with your kids, available on all good book places. Amazon is where I got mine. You're gonna learn things around explore, learn, make, and play. There's 200 pages of goodness. Each activity comes with clear instructions around the kit that you're going to need, the steps to take, that cool little bit of signing at the end. And you've also put things there that are, you've put a cost key, which actually a lot of this you can do with what you have, where you are, which means that there are no excuses, no barriers to entry. Using what nature gives us, all we need is the willingness and the intent to want to do these things. You, my friend, have inspired me to commit to doing more of this, because again, that window of them being children is small, and I continue to thank you for that. You've written this book with your good lady. What's the process like of collaborating and writing together?
So it really is about so Tara's not she's not a forest school practitioner. She doesn't particularly like being in the woods very much. So my children are quite fortunate that they've got thing. But she's phenomenally gifted writer. She's so talented. So it would be myself going out on all my missions and then coming up with sitting down with her and coming up with the drafts and I work on the illustrations. And the great thing is about Commando Dad is that it is based on the basic training manual. So I kind of had the blueprint for it. And it's that, and I think with regard to that commonality in the delivery of what I'm trying to do and what I'm trying to pass over has, it has people. So people who buy Commando Dad Basic Training like to buy things like Mission Adventure or Forest School because they know the pattern. They know what they know what to expect. And Summersdale, the publisher, my goodness, I mean, they take a manuscript of 300 like 300 pages, and we go through the arduous task of the editing. I think anyone who's going to be an author, the actual process of writing the manuscript is one thing. The editing is where it's like wow, that gets really, it's quite challenging, but ultimately very, very rewarding. And then the first time you see when I got my copy of the book through, you kind of see, they send it to you in like a PDF, and then you see it and you scroll and you scan. But then when you actually get the book physically in your hand and you start looking at the illustrations and it just, it's fantastic. So the process has always worked really, really well between me and Tara, who's a phenomenal. She's a phenomenal lady.
Yeah, I love that. I love the way you speak. Yeah, it's a great book. It looks great, feels great, easy to read. Highly recommend it. And I love that you have now a body of work that suits parents at different ages of children. I can come to you with a newborn. I can come to you with toddlers. I can come to you if I want. We haven't really talked about your cookbook and your recipes that you've done for Commando Dads. And yeah, fantastic.
There we go.
What's your favorite thing from that book, mate?
Oh man, bangers and mash. Bangers and mash. This is my son's copy, Samuel's copy.
Yeah.
And then this is the page, bangers and mash every time. I say to him, have you made another recipe from that book yet? And he went, nah, just bangers and mash. Because there's and he loves it. And I went, come on, mate, get adventurous. There's loads of recipes in there. He went, yeah, once I'm sick of me bangers and mash, I'll give something else a try.
So how old is he?
Samuel's 19.
Still, he's a musician. So
he's a musician. Cool. Yeah, in London, he's a musician. He couldn't have chosen a worse time to become an aspiring musician. He moved down to London in lockdown, and when everything just ground to a halt. And he played his first gig 2 nights ago in a place called Victoria in Dalston, North London. And oh my goodness, the joy on that young man's face when he was playing, and the pride in my heart seeing him playing so fantastically and passionately was just, what, that's the great thing. I talk about the door shutting, but there are always new ones opening.
Yes.
Always new ones opening. And you've always got to be open. You've always got to look for the open door.
I love that.
Now make sure you peek through, because you'll be surprised what you see.
I love that. My best friend is a musician. He's a drummer, and musician standards of food. I think when his wife goes away, he's literally eating beans out of a tin. He cannot fend for himself. So if your lad's doing bangers and mash, that's definitely an upgrade.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll tell him that. We'll be really pleased.
Neil, it's been such an honor and privilege to have you come back on the podcast. Where can people consume more of you, more of your content? Where can they come and be part of the Commando Dad community?
So we just upgraded our Commando Dad website. So that's which is www.commandodad.com. So myself and my son Samuel are working on trying to get our heads around that. But I think the main areas for me at the moment are Instagram and Facebook. I love Instagram. I think Instagram is one of the most wonderful avenues for. I talk about comms links. The comms link that you can have with individuals or groups is just it really just it makes it so fantastic, and it's a very personal way of connecting with the people who are getting things out of what you're doing. And it's great. You can't communicate. I mean, at the moment, like the followers I've got, I'm able to communicate. I know that a lot of people. I mean, I'm not too sure how many followers you got, but it's quite difficult sometimes to try and get to everybody. But I think as long as people know that you're there for them, and you're there to support them as much as you possibly can, that's really, really important. And if somebody DMs you, that opportunity to be able to go back and just say, listen, I'm listening. It's if I can do anything to support you or help you or point you in the direction of someone who can assist, then that's what I'll do. So Instagram for me is a wonderful, wonderful comms link to the people out there who to share their successes, but also share the pain sometimes, and the things that don't go quite according to plan, which is quite on a regular basis when you're a new parent.
Yeah. Neil, thank you. Like, you've been a great friend and continue to support me as we go. I always find it surreal. Like, oh, Commando Dad's just commented on your post. I still feel like the guy that was episode 1, episode 2. Like,
Episode 2. I can't believe that. That's just phenomenal, isn't it?
It's so cool, and I remember messaging you. I remember having this crazy idea that I thought, right, I'm just going to ask this guy. I love the work that he does. I'd love to just have a conversation with him to help other people connect with that work. And the fact that you said yes, like, it's just life-giving, my friend. And it was a real privilege that you had faith in me, or just blind faith, because I had nothing to show for it. And I'm really, really grateful, my friend. And I'm so glad that we're still in touch. And I'm so glad that we've been able to make this conversation happen again for our audience today.
Absolutely, mate. And, it's, I just, seeing you go from strength to strength just makes me, it's like, I always get an absolute thrill from seeing seeing who you've got on, and, and the amazing things that they, there are so many wonderful people out there who've got so much to share. And we're all striving to be better every day.
Yeah.
And I think, having people like yourself to enable us to do that is fantastic. So I thank you for what you do, because I really, really appreciate that. And it really helps me, tomorrow I'll try and be better tomorrow than I am today.
Fighting a good fight.
And you are a part of that, my friend.
Oh, thank you, brother. I'd be honored if you'd leave us with a final thought from your good self.
So I think for me, it's be kind to yourself. Be kind. And the last thing I'm going to say is my twin brother put me onto Stoicism, and one of the Stoic philosophy, which I find is fascinating. And he told me once, he went, you know what? It's quite simple, life. If you want to have a good day, go and do good things. There you go. That's my last thought, mate. If you want to have a good day, guys, go and do good things.
Love that. Mic drop. Peace and love, my friends.
Absolutely. You take care.